Good afternoon, everybody. Apologies that we couldn't come on this morning. I'm hoping this will be a better recording now. I've changed systems and hopefully this will work. So in saying that, hello, I'm Deborah Byrne from DBpsychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. And today I'm going to talk about this week's blog, which was all about resolving trust issues in relationships. Now, in saying that, the hints and tips and things that I suggest in this blog aren't just for intimate relationships. They can be used in any relationship that you're involved in. Work, family, friends, and of course then an intimate relationship. So trust, resolving trust issues. You can find the blog at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com, but resolving trust issues. So the first thing I'd say to you is trust is a fundamental basis for any relationship. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is, the trust has to be there. And when that trust is gone, it is extremely hard to get that back. It can be possible in some situations with a lot of hard work and possibly with doing, you might need counseling for some types of trust breakages. So our ability to trust comes mainly from our childhood experiences. They can, of course, be influenced by our childhood experiences. And so if you've had a bad childhood experience, your trust may be broken then, or you can have your trust broken at any stage during your life by people you work with. And therefore that will impact, your ability to trust colleagues and other people that you're working with. It can also be with your family, friends, and of course an intimate relationship. If you've had a very bad breakup, if your partner cheated on you, if you do not resolve that issue with yourself, you will carry that on, and it all impacts into your next lot of relationships. So the place to start, I recommend, is that we need to examine ourselves. Now, a lot of the time when people say, I have to examine myself, they start getting very defensive and they think this is a blame game. It isn't. It is definitely not a blame game. What you're trying to do is investigate the core issues and what happened. And can you, whether it be in your childhood, if it was something in your childhood or in a previous intimate relationship, you may need assistance with that. But the idea is to gain knowledge of yourself, but that empowers you. And with that empowerment, you can then resolve issues, or you can use it going forward to understand and get to know yourself better, but also get to know other people and see them better. Now, in saying that, I do talk about triggers and how that can impact you, your own triggers, and getting to know them. It can also, any triggers can impact your self-esteem. And, when your self-esteem is impacted by trust and any other trigger that you might have, it's going to be low. Your self-esteem will have been reduced. Okay, so you need to be able to trust yourself first and foremost. That is the best thing you can do, and that's the place you should be starting from. And that's why I say investigating ourselves first is not about blame, but it's about getting to know ourselves again. Particularly if your trust has been broken, you'll feel you won't want to trust yourself. So you want to reinvest in yourself and start to learn to trust yourself again first and foremost. Now, in the blog, I have laid out some signs for broken trust issues. That can be signs in other people too, so you can use those signs for, to see if there's a problem with somebody else. But they're signs that you can look for yourself. And I also list out a bunch of questions that you can start to ask yourself. And this, as I said, is about knowledge, gaining knowledge of ourselves and of other people to empower us to take steps to resolve something or to take action where we need to. Now, building trust in yourself then. First off, we know ourselves, we get to know ourselves, and that helps us set healthy boundaries, because that is what we need to do. If you've had a broken trust in any way, shape or form, I don't care whether it's in work or with, family, friends, intimate partner, you need to reevaluate your boundaries, and you need to start setting them healthy again. Your thinking will become negative, of course, if your trust has been broken. You'll go into a pattern of negative thinking about yourself. Your low self-esteem will be cropping up. Your inner critics will be coming up. So you need to start deleting that and working towards deleting negative thinking. And I talk about this and setting healthy boundaries. I've talked about it a lot. I've done blogs on it, and there's blogs up there. And in this week's blog, you'll find all the links out that you need to anything else. And learn to trust your gut instinct again. Remember, you always have the ability to choose. It's your choice. It's your life. So trusting your gut is going to be very, very important, as I said. And again, I've talked about this before, and it's linked out into in the blog. And self-esteem. I have a blog on self-confidence, self-esteem. You need to start building that self-esteem again. And I've talked about building self-confidence not that long ago. Remember, don't define yourself. If this has been an intimate relationship, don't define yourself by having to be with somebody else. That's no good. You are not that other person. You are still a good enough and lovable human being, even if you're not in a relationship with somebody else. So please watch that. Don't get caught up in that. I have to have a relationship. I have to have a person in my life because I'm X age. Don't get caught up in any of that. You are not defined if you are or are not in a relationship. We have to remember that. It's okay to delete negative people, toxic people. I talk about toxic people, and I've done it before. I've done blogs on it, and how you can actually go about minimizing contact with them. Particularly family members can be hard to delete initially, but how you can minimize them. And I only talked about how we can do a bit of that in our self-care coming up to Christmas there a couple of weeks ago. So do check that out. Remember, it's okay to trust yourself and also protect yourself. That's very important. That's a very key point, is to protect yourself and still be able to trust yourself. Well, sometimes we forget that. We forget that we can, we can trust ourselves and still protect, and we can trust others and still protect ourselves. And that's about setting our healthy boundaries. Now, in talking about, the whole blog is about, of course, resolving trust issues in relationships. And how do we go about that? First off, if this is trust that has been broken by domestic violence, and there's a lot of people that don't realize how, what domestic violence is all about. And I go into, I have two blogs on that. So it's quite extensive. If somebody has been gaslighting you, if you've been dating somebody, you can have domestic violence. It doesn't have to be about physical violence. Always remember that. Coercive control, gaslighting, anything like that, you have to look at that and understand it. If that is the reason you and your trust has been broken by this intimate relationship, that's something you're not going to resolve. That's a walk away situation. You walk away. You have to walk away. Protect yourself, but walk away. That's not your job to resolve that. That person is toxic, extremely toxic, and you need to walk away from them. The other situations, of course, would be a sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, or sexual assault situation. That they all need professional help, and I would very much strongly recommend that is not a self-help situation to be going into. You need to be reaching out to professionals. In saying all that, let's move on to resolving the trust in other types of relationships. First off, you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself, but you also have to be honest with the other person. And under honesty, I would also include don't try and communicate when you're angry. Use the 48-hour rule. So we basically step away from one another for 48 hours, and we allow people to calm down. They use their anger management techniques, and then they come back using clear communication. So the I statements, not the, you made me feel this. It's I feel this when you, whatever. You have to use your I statements there. And I go into all these in a bit more detail in the blog. I would also say, let go of your fear. You're going to have a fear, the fear of being wrong. And you're going to have, that fear of, I have to be right all the time. You don't. Sometimes we're not right. Sometimes we have to admit, and this has been about being honest with ourselves, that maybe we weren't right, or maybe we don't have to be right. It should be a win-win situation, not a win at all cost situation, or the other person has to lose. Listen, allow time to listen to the other person and listen to what they're saying. Sometimes we are so busy and caught up in what we're thinking to defend ourselves when we don't actually do proper listening. We are so busy, catching up with, how am I going to defend against what they've just said? How am I going to, prove my point? We don't actually listen to what's being said. So if you can just slow down your mind, take a few deep breaths, or in breath, and then a longer out breath will help us when we breathe out longer than we breathe in. It's the 7-11 technique, it's called, and I have a blog and a podcast on that, how to do it. But when we practice that, and we practice that when we're sitting with somebody and we're really listening, it allows us to calm the mind down enough to stop and think and listen to what is being said, and to repeat back. If you're not sure what they're actually trying to say to you, repeat back. I think this is what you said. Can you tell me that's right? Now, in saying that, if that escalates the situation up again, then you need to take the break, because that's going to, trigger things, and you need to then take a break from one another. Step back and wait and calm down again. And as I said, if that needs the 48-hour rule, if you're very angry, that needs the 48-hour rule. The next thing is to forgive yourself and the other person. Now, forgiveness, people get caught up in forgiveness and they think, okay, I have to forgive them, that means reconciliation. No, reconciliation is a different thing altogether. Forgiving yourself and going, okay, I made a mistake, I'm going to admit it, and I'm going to apologize if I need to, and then I'm going to have to let it go. Don't get caught up in the forgiveness and the guilt cycle, not forgiving and getting caught up in the guilt, and then shame is added, and that compacts it even more. That's just toxic. So, allow yourself, maybe write it out before you're going to meet this person. Maybe write out what it is you need to say, and look at it and say, am I right here? Do I need to clarify? Maybe I misunderstood. And can I forgive the other person? And at some stage you're going to have to forgive, and then move on to reconciliation. That's where the other person genuinely apologizes, and it's a genuine apology, and you can accept that. You have to move on to that stage, because as they say, while you're caught up in anger, and you're caught up in your frustrations and all that washing machine effect in your head, the other guy's out. Well, as they say, the other guy's out dancing. He's having a great time. He doesn't care. So this is, it's all in your head. So you have to, take a step back and just listen to what you are saying, what the points you need to make. So that brings me on to the next point in building the trust in relationships. Writing it down, being clear on what you want to say, sets a healthy boundary. That's okay. Set the healthy boundary. So set that healthy boundary with that person and speak up. You don't have to take everything they say at face value. You do not have to take what they want to say as the rules. You don't have to take it that it's, just to keep the peace. That's no good. That's just going to lead to building and building and building of frustrations, and you'll explode at some point. It may take years, but you will explode. So setting a clear, healthy boundary means you speak up for yourself and say what you need to say. The trust will take time and patience to build again. You need baby steps, and you need to do the exercises that I have said at the start. Repeat, because you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it right first time out. You may not get it right second time out. It could take multiple times. In fact, it probably will take multiple times, and it's going to be baby steps in you trusting that other person again. Very much baby steps. So it's all about repeat, and patience and time, particularly with yourself, but also with the other person. Be willing to try. So just be willing to try. That starts the whole ball rolling, is to be willing to try. And then the last point I'll make is speak to a professional if you need it. If this has come to a point, either in work or with a family member or with, you know, an intimate partner, and it's just not moving on, maybe it's time that you spoke to somebody. Because if you speak to somebody, you could see them for a few weeks. You don't have to go into a whole big therapy session with them. But even a whole, you know, a 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks will allow you to express your concerns, your stresses, allow you to think more clearly and to get down the points that you want to make in that conversation with that person. And sometimes saying what we need to say and then letting the person go, deleting them from our lives. So if you do need professional help, please do reach out. So as always, I'll say good afternoon to Colette and Deirdre. They're on as always. And I will see you all now. It'll be after Christmas this time. So there'll be no blog on Monday, and I'll be back in, I think, around 6th of January. So thank you all for a great year. And I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if anybody has any suggestions for blogs or podcasts or anything that they would like to hear, pop it in the comment, tag me, and I will, you know, have a look at it, and I'll see can I get those done for you as quickly as possible. So thank you very much for your patience today, and apologies we couldn't come on as usual at 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock. And good morning.